Welcome to the Two Guys with Three Working Legs Talking Hockey show. My name is Roy Bellamy. I'm here with David Dwork of the Hockey News. David is playing hurt. What the hell happened to you?
I tore my ACL playing kickball, so I am on LTIR for the time being, but can't keep a good man from the studio, so the show goes on.
Kickball?
Yeah, don't ask.
Okay. All right. Now, the Florida Panthers are on a hot streak right now. We are recording this thing on Wednesday, so they are coming off of their fifth straight win, the San Jose Sharks win that they almost technically gave away in the third period, but they ended up getting 2 points out of that one. So 5 straight wins for the Panthers, second in the division currently. They are having a nice start to the season.
Yeah, I don't think you could have asked for a much better start to the season, considering we knew that they were going to be doing it shorthanded. Two of the best defensemen in the conference, Aaron Ekblad and Brendan Montour, have not played yet. They are possibly both going to be playing this week, so that's something to keep an eye out for. But yeah, without Montour, without Ekblad, they just got Sam Bennett back, and as we saw last year, we know how important Sam Bennett is to that forward rank just because it makes them so much deeper when that trickle-down impact, when you can have Anton Lundell down in the third line with Eetu Luostarinen. So yeah, it's pretty remarkable the start the Panthers have had, and as we were just saying, as they get healthier, it's kind of scary, the possibilities with this team.
We saw a stark difference of Sam Bennett being in the lineup during the Bruins game. When he was in the lineup, they were doing well. You know, they scored twice in the first period. When he wasn't in the lineup, when he got injured, that's when things started really to go downhill. And as you brought out the forward depth, I think they are the deepest 4 lines. We're talking about 4 lines, the deepest in the league. And the top 2 lines may be maybe top 5, maybe even top 3 in the league.
You know, I mean, when you look at that second, the second line, 2A, whatever you want to call it, of Carter Verhaeghe, who just came off a 40-goal season, Sam Bennett, we're just talking about one of the best 2A, gritty, grimy, skilled centers that you're going to see. And, some guy named Matthew Tkachuk.
Oh, yeah, that guy.
Yeah, that guy. So that's your second line. And then you've got a top line of Barkov, Reinhart, and Rodriguez. Reinhart having a ridiculous start to the year, 21 points, 14 games. I think 9 of his 14 games, he's got multi-point efforts. It's really unreal what this team is doing. When you add to that they're just now getting healthy, I think we're going to be busy come playoff time again, Roy.
Yeah, Matthew Tkachuk is having a pretty quiet season, but through 15 games right now, it seems that he has matched at least his point total so far. He's just not finishing around the net just yet, but the rest of his points they are coming off of assists. Yeah,
look, as long as he's producing, I mean, he's impacting the game in positive ways. Yes, he's just got the 3 goals in the season, which is a little surprising. But again, 17 points, he's over a point per game. His metrics, his advanced metrics, just looking at the way he's impacting the game possession-wise are on point with the rest of the way he plays. So yeah, there's no real concern. And it's just a matter of when are the goals going to start coming, and that's only going to be a helpful thing.
The other good thing about this start is the goaltending, which is very surprising. The goaltender is usually not that good this early in the season, right?
Yeah, Sergei Bobrovsky typically in his career has been a slow starter. That's been true during his time with the Panthers. And we've talked, ad nauseum over the years about Sergei Bobrovsky and his up and down ways with the Panthers. The way he started the year, you couldn't really ask for much better. He's already got a shutout. He's playing quite well. His rebound control for a little while is really on point. It kind of took a right-hand turn a little bit before they hit the road, so we'll see how they do when they finish out the road trip. There's a chance he starts both games in that back-to-back, depending how the first one goes in L.A. But, yeah, just overall, as a goaltender, as a tandem, really, because Anthony Stolarz has been fine too, but as a tandem, that's generally expected to improve as the year goes on. When you start this well, there's nowhere to go but up.
And the team defense in front of him, coming from all 4 forward lines and their defensemen, we were worried about them coming into the season, but they have done an admirable job with Ekblad and Montour being out.
Yeah, Florida's had one of the best defensive, in terms of statistics, some of the best defensive numbers in the league. And I think it's just understanding the systems, knowing where you're supposed to be, not getting out of position. The Panthers, there's not a whole lot complicated to it. It's just a lot of effort. It takes a lot to perform because when you think about defense, we're talking team defense. We're not talking about the defenseman. And it's a 5-man job. Mm-hmm. And you saw last season as the year went on, slowly but surely, the Panthers figured things out with Paul Maurice's systems. Now they're going into this year. They've added players that they knew specifically. They picked them out. These guys will fit in what we're trying to do. And we're seeing the results on the ice. Everybody's bought in. You've got one of, if not the best locker rooms in the league. Everybody raves about the camaraderie. Everybody's got each other's back. Mm-hmm. It's just a great situation that the Panthers are in right now.
And most recently, the special teams have done well. especially their penalty killing. I mean, in that there was at one point in one of the games a couple of games ago, they gave up 0 shots.
Yes.
On the penalty kill. That's a feat within itself.
Yeah, it's a process. And I think, we talk about defensive systems. Paul Maurice has told us that they're trying something different, a little different. Not completely. They haven't changed it up, but they're trying something a little different this year with the way that they do their PK. They're trying different combinations. Barkov and Reinhart have been spectacular. Mm-hmm. You've got guys like Eetu Luostarinen and Kevin Stenlund that do a great job as the forwards, blocking shots. And then Gus Forsling. There's just a lot of good penalty killers that are happy to go out there and do the work. When you talk about special teams to me, what really kind of surprises me is that the power play hasn't gotten off to a ridiculous start just because the forward depth that we're talking about, when you've got that kind of talent on the ice, when your top power play, it's Barkov, Tkachuk, Reinhart, Oliver Ekman-Larsson, who's been one of the best power play defensemen in the league since he got here. You just think, okay, this group is going to take off. And you see it. Like we see during the power plays, they're not getting the goals, but they're getting crazy opportunities, the passes. It's gorgeous to watch. So that's something that you would think eventually is going to round into form. But yeah, just so talented.
And that power play combination is going to change dramatically once Montour comes back and quarterbacks the first line, right?
Yeah, you would think Montour and Ekblad both have to be put into a power play mix in some way. And Sam Bennett coming back also, he's going to absolutely be a net front power play kind of guy. Mm-hmm. So yeah, as both special teams, but the power play particularly, you're going to see a little bit of changes. You would think for the best because you're only adding all-star caliber players. So yeah.
All right, let's switch nationally here. Let's talk about some retired players right now.
Nice.
Well, I wouldn't necessarily call Jaromír Jágr a retired player because he's never going to retire because he's never going to die.
Jaromír Jágr is a cyborg.
Yes, he is. He's a robot. But finally, he's getting his number retired in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
It took a while.
I'm surprised it took this long because he's been out of the NHL for 4 or 5 years now. He's been out of Pittsburgh for quite a bit longer. But yeah, it's just funny. Like now we just got to the Hockey Hall of Fame inductions this week, which, you and I were there last year. It's a really cool experience.
It was definitely really cool. Literally, really cool.
We'll save your freezing on camera for another time.
God damn it.
No, but it's like, when is Jágr going to get into the Hall? Because like Jágr is, obviously he is a Hall of Fame player. It's just a matter of when. Mm-hmm. But they've got this rule. You've got to be out of professional hockey, not just the NHL. You got to be out of professional hockey for 3 years. And this is a guy, he owns his hometown team, Kladno, over in the Czech Republic. And yeah, I mean, he suits up every so often when they need him. And he'll go out there and he'll put up like 2 assists or something. It's ridiculous. But yeah, I mean, they've talked about making some kind of an exception to get him into the Hall of Fame. Like,
really?
We need to do that. Like, he's a Hall of Fame player. He's he's not coming back to the NHL. He's in his 50s. Like, get him in there. Like, you break the rules, do what you need to do. I think we can all sign that petition that Jaromír Jágr could be in the NHL or the Pro Hockey Hall of Fame yesterday.
Yeah. Speaking of Hall of Fame, we just had the inductions recently, and like a lot of goaltenders went in this year. Why don't you talk about that? Since that is your position, technically, which you can't play right now, but because you're hurt. Mm. But for a while.
Thank you for the reminder.
Yeah, well, you could just look down at that knee brace over here, looking like Stone Cold Steve Austin with that thing. But a lot of goaltenders went in this year.
So Tom Barrasso, Henrik Lundqvist, Henrik Lundqvist is amazing, and then Mike Vernon, who had a special place in my heart for the goalies who are 5'8".
Yeah, the small goaltenders.
Us little men out there that still make it happen. But just a really cool Hall of Fame class. I mean, Henrik Lundqvist is a guy like, you would think Jágr. As soon as they're ready, as soon as that 3-year period is up, they're in there. Like Roberto Luongo last year. As soon as they're eligible, first ballot, whatever, they're in. So Tom Barrasso, 2 Stanley Cups, American goaltender. We both grew up watching him. We saw him fight John Van Beesbrook during that 96 run to the final.
Yeah.
I love watching Mike Vernon play. I loved watching those little guys play. And Mike Vernon, Panthers playoff goaltender, remember in the year 2000.
Yes.
So it was a really cool Hall of Fame class this year. Pierre Turgeon got in, and a couple of guys that we saw a lot growing up. Kent Hitchcock, who was an amazing coach for Dallas.
No goal. No, it was no goal.
Foot was in the crease.
His foot was in the crease.
Sorry, Brett Hull.
All right, so talking about potential overtime rule changes. They do the 3-on-3 in overtime, but they're talking about not exiting the zone like they usually do to reset their play once they don't find the play that they actually want. The players on the ice tend to leave the zone and then try to re-entry. Why don't we talk about the rule changes there?
It's a little, I guess you got to do something because they're really not happy with the way a team can try to possess the puck for basically the whole 5 minutes and continue to drop back and go, but that's the game evolving, right? That's what happens. When 3-on-3 first started, it was exciting. I remember when 3-on-3 first started, I felt like I couldn't catch my breath until the first whistle. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, only a minute passed? We still got 4 more minutes of this? Like, holy cow. So now they're talking about almost doing like a basketball thing where it's like a half-court 3-on-3 type deal where you could take it out of the zone. They're talking about possibly putting a shot clock or something.
A shot clock?
It's very strange when you think about it. I think there's one easy solution to this.
No more 3-on-3?
No, just make it 10 minutes.
Well, yeah.
If you extend overtime 10 minutes, I guarantee you that you're going to cut out like 90% of shootouts. Most of them are not going to go that long anyway.
Right.
And it's just more fun. The shootouts were cool when they first came out, and it was a fun novelty. I think we're all over it at this point.
Yeah.
It's a skills competition. There's no place for it in results of the game.
Right, yeah.
So whatever the NHL decides to do here, I just think there's an easy solution that we're all overlooking, and that's just extend it.
Connor Bedard. I mean, this guy looks like the actual real deal. We saw him twice play the Panthers, and how many goals and points that he ended up accruing there?
I think he had 4 points in the one game against the Panthers. I think he has 5 in the 2 games he scored against the Panthers in Chicago also. He had 2 goals when they played the Lightning. So this is a guy for 18 years old. He loves spring break. He loves playing the Florida teams. He sees the Sun Belt teams and his eyes get lit up because, look, we haven't seen a guy come into the league like this since one Connor McJesus. And he's having his own issues in Edmonton right now. We'll hope that things work out for him. But yeah, it's exciting when somebody this good, this young comes into the league, just because you're going to get highlights. Think about some of the cool things we've seen Connor McDavid do over the years.
Yeah, and speaking of which, I mean, they seem to be wasting his career away in Edmonton. And we're going to end the show. We're going to end this segment with that.
Yeah, it's tough, right? Because, I mean, I don't know if I've ever seen somebody that good in my lifetime. I think when I was younger, it would have been like Gretzky, maybe Lemieux. But seeing Connor McDavid just grow as an NHL player and some of the things that he does that I just don't know how he does it, it's so amazing. And now he's about to be 28 years old in another month or so. What has he accomplished in his career? Like plenty of personal accomplishments, plenty of big numbers. But these guys want to win. They want team things. They want a Stanley Cup. And Edmonton, for a team that has the best players that they have with McDavid and Draisaitl, it seems like they're really blowing it.
All right, coming up next, we have a 10-minute misconduct with Billy Lindsay. All right, we are extending this out. We are no longer doing 5-minute majors now. We are doing 10-minute misconducts. That's where we are right now.
Seems appropriate.
Yeah, and our 10-minute misconduct is going to Bill Lindsay. Bill Lindsay is the Panthers radio analyst, and he also makes appearances on the NHL Network. Billy, the Panthers right now are second in the division. They are doing very well so far, despite all the injuries that they have gone through. So I just want to get with Sam Reinhart. It seems like he's having a Hart Trophy type season. He's definitely having a career season, and he's doing this on a contract year. Why don't you explain what's going on with Sam Reinhart's season?
Exploded out of the gates. Wasn't much different than the start of last year, but the goals are going in.
Mm-hmm.
He had a lot of chances last year, just couldn't score. The Panthers in general, that was kind of what plagued them and put them behind and why they were playing that chase-up game towards the end of the year to try and get in the playoffs. Now they're starting to score on their chances. They're led by Reinhart, good all-around player, in front of the net, in the blue paint, right spot, right times. You talked to Paul Maurice about him. His hockey IQ is through the roof. He has spectacular attention to detail about the game and was actually reading an Athletic article over the summer. And he rated out as the Panthers' best defensive forward throughout the course of last year, which you look at the Barkov and I'm not sure the analytics that they used, but it still was quite stunning to me to see Sam Reinhart out there as the best rated forward defensively. And now what he's starting to do offensively, he does kill penalties. He seems to be in the right place at the right time. He scored a plethora of power play goals over the last couple of years. That trend continues into this season. He's just a guy with a good shot, goes to the right areas, has good chemistry with his line mates. And Roy, you're right. If he continues to track like this and play like this, he's a player that might be one of those under the radar Hart Trophy guys at the end of the year. But he's consistent in what he does. And that's what I like about Sam Reinhart. It's there every night for the most part, and it's been there when it's been needed most. The Panthers needed some scoring early on, and it's been Reinhart that's been able to provide that.
You brought up his defensive metrics. Could he be in line with Alexander Barkov in possibly being in contention for the Selke Trophy?
There's part of that maybe that could go into it. It gets a little weighted down as a winger, even though your defensive metrics are good. I don't know. You have to go back. Sometimes it goes out, but it's usually a centerman that wins that award because they're playing down low in the defensive end a lot. With the opposing defenseman, you're matched up. You're taking faceoffs. Reinhart does take some faceoffs. It's a little harder to put into that category for Reinhart to get up there, to get into a Selke conversation. I don't believe that's going to happen and be part of it for Reinhart, but you're pleased with where he's at defensively as a whole game. And this Panther team is coming out of the gates without Ekblad and Montour. What Paul Maurice and this coaching staff has done defensively, if you want to talk metrics and analytics, they're top 5 in almost every defensive category across the board. That's what's allowed them to get off to this really good start. And they've been led by the players leading by example. Barkov, Reinhart, these guys are committed at both ends of the rink. And all these new defensemen that they brought in, Paul Maurice has put them in the lineup, and they fit really well and seem like they have a lot of chemistry early on. And that goes straight to the players and the coaching staff.
Yeah, you can't give enough credit, Billy, to talk about the players, the coaches, and they're putting it all together on the ice. But the front office, the way that they were able to not just find the right players based off this offseason, because we knew Ekblad was going to be out, Montour was going to be out. They brought in, 4 new defensemen out of 6 or 5 out of 7, and it's clicking. And I think that it's a testament to not just bringing in good players, but the right players that fit into a certain system. And I think when you're talking about that synergy that goes from Paul Maurice and his staff all the way up to Bill Zito and his crew.
A lot of credit too. It's Bill Zito is identifying players that can come in here and not only play, but you also have to have the element of how are they going to fit into our group? Do they have the characters that we're looking for off the ice? And that's really important because you got this really strong dressing room. The bond, are they going to be able to come in here? And they knew a lot about their personalities, and Kulikov really wanted to come back here. I saw him a couple of summers ago before he went to Minnesota. He was trying to get back here then. Always had a house down here. So he's kind of rejuvenated Kulikov. He loves being down here. So that's one guy that's kind of jumped off and played really good hockey. Oliver Ekman-Larsson is a guy, you needed someone to quarterback the power play without Montour, without Ekblad. He's done it for a long time, did it in Arizona, goes to Vancouver, and just wasn't his role. He was down to that 17, 18 minutes a night, wasn't getting quite the opportunities on the power play, and there was a hole, and he was injured and banged up a little bit, did their homework. He was healthy, came into training camp in great shape. And Oliver Ekman-Larsson this is a player that did this in Arizona for a long time, quarterback to power play, put up numbers. He's been instrumental in what they're trying to do. And the numbers have been there for Ekman-Larsson as along with the ice time, getting 23, 24 minutes a night. And Mikola's steady. So it's been a group back there that they filled those holes and filled them nicely. And speaks to the strength of the character in the dressing room and the players that you brought in. Bill Zito doing his homework. Doesn't miss on a lot, does Zito. If you look at picking up Mahura off waivers, Forsling off waivers, the Tkachuk trade and the Tkachuk contract, how good is that contract going to look down the road? So Bill Zito so far has had the magic touch in pretty much everything that he touches, and Paul Maurice is able to say, okay, this is what you're giving me. I know exactly how to use them.
Well, you bring up Ekman-Larsson. When he's on the ice on 5-on-5, the Panthers are out shooting their opponents by 31. They're outscoring their opponents 12-9, and they have an edge on scoring chances by 26. So when Aaron Ekblad and Brandon Montour comes back, do you believe that his performance will continue in that trend?
It might not be quite that dominant. There will be, probably goes back into the second power play unit. Montour, with the way that he played last year, is going to probably get to the keys to the car on that first power play unit.
Yeah.
But he's played well enough that he's a good enough puck-moving defenseman. And the one area that the Panthers have struggled in is getting out of their zone cleanly to create odd man rushes. That speed game that we just haven't got to. And they want to change their identity to a more dump and chase style. They got to that last year, but you still would like to see more 3-on-2s, 2-on-1s. And Ekblad and Montour getting out of their zone cleanly are going to be able to bring that. Oliver Ekman-Larsson will stay in the lineup if he continues to play like this. And because he can move the puck and he is efficient at getting the puck out of the zone. So he's an important piece of what they're trying to do. It's just the minutes will have to come down somewhat, but he's still going to be a nice addition and a nice fit. And with all these guys, with Mikkola playing, with Kulikov playing, Balinskis, all these guys getting a ton of experience. Once these guys, the two players, Montour and Ekblad, do come back and they're healthy, you got a wealth of riches on the blue line and all kinds of options. You even have the options, if you want, to go to 11 forwards and a 7 defenseman rotation. If someone's not playing well, someone gets injured, all these guys have experience playing quality minutes. So you need depth. And if those guys do get healthy and are able to provide what they provide, and you also have that added depth, that's going to be a luxury for Paul Maurice and the whole organization.
So, Billy, you're talking about, we mentioned a lot, Montour, Ekblad, and all these guys that have been missing. And yet somehow the Panthers to this point, they're 10-4-1. They're 10-2-1 if they started the season with 2 straight losses. What's the ceiling for this team? We saw how good they could be last year when they were at full strength. They got to the playoffs, then they started getting hurt. But we saw what this team is capable of. Now they're rounding into form. They're getting Paul Maurice's systems down to muscle memory, and they're already playing so well. Once they get these guys back in the lineup, the Montour, Ekblad, they just got Sam Bennett back. Like it seems like the ceiling is really tall for this Panthers team this season.
Should be. You went to the Stanley Cup Finals last year, and if you get Ekblad and Montour back in the lineup, you have almost the same team with some extra pieces added. What's the ceiling? What's the expectation? You had a lot of the pundits right off the Panthers at the start of the year.
Right.
But if you go back to January 1st last year, and especially after the All-Star break, their record was there with the Torontos of the elite teams in the league. So my expectation for this group is exactly where they finished off, to be a Stanley Cup contender and be one of the top teams in the Eastern Conference. They have that kind of ability. It took Paul Maurice to establish what they wanted to be last year. He talked about playing playoff hockey in the regular season. Took to game 81 or 82 to get into the playoffs, but you could see that identity take form in the last half of the season. They were able to hang on to the puck in the offensive zone, get it back. They screen, they get to rebounds. They play that grinded out lunch pail hard hat hockey that you're kind of looking for. And that's what you have success in the playoffs. Now they know who they are. They didn't have to have and change and try and figure out, what kind of team are we this year? Who do we want to be? We know who we are. We know what to expect, and we know what we're capable of. And they wanted to prove that. A lot of people said, just getting by Boston, it's kind of a team just getting hot at the right time of the year and riding the wave all the way to a Stanley Cup final. To me, that's totally incorrect. This is a quality team that found themselves in the second half of last year. And yes, they got rolling in the playoffs, but they come out of the gate storming this year. And they're Boston is Boston again. It's incredible with Bergeron and Krejci retiring, but Boston is Boston, and the Panthers are going to be hot on their heels. They're not going to give them a lot of leeway. To me, they're in that second place in the Atlantic, and they're going to be chasing down and trying to get to that top and chasing Boston all year.
You can find them on the Florida Panthers radio network, and you can also find them with the likes of Adnan Dwork on NHL Network talking hockey.
Go
Bill
Adnan.
Lindsay. Go Adnan, yeah. Bill Lindsay, everybody. Thank you for joining us, Bill.
Thank you very much.